Welcome everyone. My name is Dr. Leon McDougle. I'm the Chief Diversity Officer at the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center, and I'm so pleased to have this opportunity to speak with you all about a very important topic, secondaries. What I'd like to share initially is the fact that with our supplementary applications, they really serve as a vehicle for us to further delve into you in regards to your background from a holistic review standpoint. And it helps to identify students who apply to our institution, helps us to identify who meets and fits our mission best. Also, with the secondary applications, they provide an opportunity for us to look at attributes such as critical thinking, insight, and intellectual curiosity. And so for us, we send out secondary applications to students who have at least a 21 on the MCAT. Also here, you'll see a great picture of our Student National Medical Association, and forgot to mention it on this initial slide, our Latino Medical Student Association members. So the process. So with our admissions committee process, we set up for you a status page. And this is a very important vehicle for you to remain connected to our admissions team. And with this, it's going to be very important that you frequently view the status page and also pay attention to your email, because you don't want to, say, have a message sent to you stating that, well, we're missing a particular piece of information from your application, and until you get that information to us, we will not be able to fully evaluate your application. So pay close attention to those various status pages or email communication from the schools that you apply to, because most schools have rolling admissions. I know for us, we start in September and interview through April. But the earlier you get all the paperwork in, ask for information, the more opportunity you'll have to be considered for application and consideration for invitation for an interview. Also, as far as how we do things at the Ohio State University College of Medicine, we have a team of about 60 screeners, and they look at your secondary and AMCAS application, and they go through these information pieces very carefully, and we actually have a sheet where we evaluate the candidates on experiences, attributes, and metrics, and then narrow down who we should invite for interview. And there's 3 determinations made. So invite to interview. However, sometimes there may be a candidate where they're not quite sure whether or not they should be invited for an interview. Then a second opinion is obtained. And for the students who fall into the second interview request or do not invite the interview, those are still reviewed by someone else on the admissions committee, admissions leadership, to make sure that that's not, that determination is correct, or provide that second opinion concerning viability of your candidacy for the College of Medicine interview. You'll also see questions such as citizenship. For the Ohio State University College of Medicine, we do require that the medical school applicant have U.S. citizenship or an equivalent. We also happen to be in Central Ohio, have the second largest Somali population in the United States. So we have a number of students from Somali. So that's just an example of some of the focus and variation one may see in regards to the applicant pool. We'll ask questions such as where you grew up through high school. This is a very important period. We see sometimes where students came from really disadvantaged circumstances, may have moved multiple times, gone to multiple schools through high school, and having gone through that and still making it to the point where you're being considered for an interview at our institution, and if you're able to excel through that, it really displays resilience. So that's another one of the attributes that we value highly. Also things such as parental income and highest education level. Another factor that may be a disadvantage to some students is being first generation college. No one in your family has gone to college. You've broken through that cycle, and with that may have not had all the advice and support that others may have had in your journey to become a physician. So we note those types of things. And this happens to be a picture of one of our local high school students participating in MD Camp, which is a student-run initiative very similar to how this UC Davis program is run. Not 8,500 people, but about 30 students each summer come and visit. They apply, and 30 or so are accepted, and the students do a wonderful job of academic enrichment, and a number of these students are actually now enrolled in our medical school. So also, and let me just say this, no, we're on camera, on television, so I'm a little bit nervous, but if you have any questions at all, this is an intimate audience, so if you have any questions throughout this, just raise your hand. You don't have to wait till the end. So now this is probably the most important part of this discussion here in regards to secondaries and the application as a whole. So you want to put yourself in the best light possible. So out of the uncommon occurrences in regards to unacceptable academic performance or conduct violations, of those, what I would say is probably the most frequent would be underage drinking, right? So there'll be a citation on the application, well, John Doe was cited for underage drinking. May have even occurred twice. So that now that's on your application. So what you'll have to decide, what I would highly recommend that you do is be forthright about that. Because the process, the interview day and the specific interview goes very fast. So this is what typically happens. So I just want to put you in the room. So the faculty interviewer will see your file. Usually it'll take about 45 minutes or so to review your file, and we have a list of a number of questions that we ask to further holistically review the applicant. So you get into the room, so now you have about 45 minutes to interview the candidate. And so you may get off track on something such as, you may be such a fabulous person or have such a great story to tell. You say, oh, you know, I went to Guatemala and I was on this humanitarian mission, and all these fabulous things have gone on, and I've done this shadowing and got to participate in a number of great things. Oh, by the way, I was the president of the Save the Children Foundation, and the next thing you know, bam, that 45 minutes is up. It goes really fast. And if you haven't taken the opportunity to address this in your application, what can happen, and I've seen happen sometimes, is that that particular citation isn't addressed anywhere in your application, and the interview went by so fast with the student and the faculty that that's kind of an open item. And unless you somehow address that in writing or in your personal statement, it can really come back to bite you. So what will typically happen at the end of an interview, and I'm not saying this happens at all interviews, but a good interview, the interviewer will ask you, well, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you want to share with me? Or another question would be, what would you like for me to share with the admissions committee that perhaps we didn't cover today? So that, again, will be another opportunity. So if you have some item on your application that you know doesn't show you in a favorable light, now that's the time to go into detail and explain how you've addressed that. And what we love to see is, so take that example, busted twice for underage drinking, future Doogie Howser, and then you kind of say, wow, man, this is on my record. What am I going to do? And so be proactive about it. See, we love to see people do things such as this. Well, take ownership of it. I know that that was the wrong thing to do. I have learned from that experience. I have grown from that. And actually, I've started a underage drinking awareness group at our college. And I lead that group, and we go around giving talks to undergraduates, and we try to make sure that we have a safe learning environment at our institution. So take that weakness or that area of concern and turn it into a positive by taking ownership of it and then trying to do something about it and help others not make that same mistake you made, who may also be an aspiring health profession student, but now has this blemish on the record. And so, and what happens too, okay, I just talked with you about how fast the process goes. I know you're all nervous and all this kind of stuff, but you get interviewed, it's over. And so now we're deliberating concerning your application. Oh, she's a really nice gal. I think she'd be a great candidate for our class, research experience. She's done a lot of great things, and but you know, I just have one. I didn't have time to go over this, and there's one concern. This underage drinking, 2 violations, and with us we have a deliberation process where the student and the faculty that interviewed you, they may not even be in the room, so they have to review the record and summarize that interview that you've had. And so now you have 14, 15 people sitting in a room making a determination on your future. And and invariably, you have 1 or 2 faculty or students say, well, you know, my dad was an alcoholic, or I think that's a bad thing, alcoholism, and that's going to really put our patients at risk from a professionalism standpoint. And so you may, and then you take a vote. Okay, 14, 15 people, they take a vote. So you may get good ratings from, let's just say, 10 people give you good ratings that otherwise would highly indicate that you would be accepted into the medical school. But then you got these 2 faculty and students who just say, well, you know, I'm uncomfortable with Susan because professionalism is highly valued in medicine, and we really need to promote professionalism, and also I'm concerned about patient safety. So now you have those two people, they vote red flag, concerned, worried. So now we get about 5,000 applications each year for 200 seats in the medical school. We interview about 800 people. So now you've gone from a strong candidate to 2 red flags. So what do you think your chances are going to be getting invited for an interview? It's lessened. So this is, so take ownership of those. Also, if you committed a crime, you have a criminal record, we do background checks. So if it's not, if you don't put that on, because it may not be on the AMCAS unless you actually say, well, you know, I did have one incident of shoplifting, or I did have incident of several parking tickets, and I mean, they find out all that. So if you have some type of documented criminal record out there, and then if you don't cover that or disclose that on the applications, secondary and or AMCAS initial application, it'll come back to bite you. Mr. Thompson, you get the letter in the mail. We talked about the status page. Accept it. And then comes around, all this background check gets done before you can take a seat in the class. Then it comes back, well, you didn't disclose that you were involved with a shoplifting incident, and we're really sorry to inform you that due to our policy and you not being forthright about that, we're going to have to withdraw your acceptance to the medical school. And as a physician, you're going to get background checks. And so it's not just medical school. It's going to be residency. It's going to be when you become a employed physician, especially if you work with a big medical center or Kaiser or something, you're going to get background checks. So let this be an opportunity for you to show growth, integrity, forthrightness, and leadership. So I would, any of these circumstances, try to turn it into a positive, because we're always, and you've all been at this conference, what are people saying? Well, do some community service. Well, do some research. Oh, we're looking for leadership too. So what better way than to turn a substance abuse charge, whether it be alcohol or marijuana, into something that's positive, where you're becoming a leader in helping people to not make that same mistake. As a matter of fact, while you're doing that, you may find yourself becoming or being engaged in that topic and actually becoming an addiction medicine specialist. You know, that may be something, that may be your calling. So you know about it, you know what's going on. So that, again, could be something that out of these 800 applicants makes you stand out. Say, hey, look, you know, this person, he was turned his life around. He started this organization. He's the type of person we want in our class. She's the type of person we want in our class. She's a leader. See, that's you may think it's a weakness, but you can actually turn that into a positive. So share that with your friends also. I know we're being videotaped here for a worldwide audience. We're going to be on C-SPAN. So, yeah, we could be, yeah. So you can play some music in the background too. Okay, so, oh, hey. And so this is just some pictures of our medical center and biomedical research tower. And also, this provides an opportunity for you to show that you're thinking even beyond medical school and what type of impact you will have as a physician. How are you going to change things? There's nothing worse than being in an interview and then too, so let me just say this, connect what you write to what you actually talk about during your interview. So sometimes as a member of the admissions committee, I've been doing this about 13 years now, there'll be a disconnect. I mean, you read the secondary and the application, you say, wow, this person is fantastic. I just can't wait. I can't wait to get in there and interview this person. And it's like, you get in there and say, hello, is this the same person? so I know this is a little bit off topic, but I'm just, so what you say in your secondary and application, be able to speak to those things. And yeah, done some really nice and exciting things. Talk about it, or somebody give you an opportunity to speak to those things, speak to those things. So that happens. So that's one of the reasons why, too, we have interviews. So, because at the end of the day, you're going to have to care for people. And a piece of paper doesn't care for people, a person does. So we want to be able to evaluate those attributes in a more direct way. Also, I spoke to this a little bit earlier in the pavilion a few minutes ago. So, in tying this to your secondary, information that you place in your secondary about, oh, I went to Africa. I went on a humanitarian mission to Africa. And last year we went to Brazil, and that's all that's on your secondary application, because they may ask some specific questions about that. And then you're in the interview with the person, so, well, what do you learn about that experience? And the person, if you don't have a good sense of the diseases that you encountered or of the population, or you can't speak to some of the great cases that you were involved with, and you haven't read at all about that particular ailment, it doesn't look just so you got all this flowery stuff and these great experiences on your secondary and your AMCAS, and well, tell me a little bit about the disease burden, or tell me a little bit about the health system, or tell me a little bit about an interesting case that you participated in. If you can't really go into some detail, we know you haven't gone to medical school, but to be able to display that this made an impact on you. And then, this is killer here. So you traveling the world, trying to, humanitarian missions and all this kind of stuff, and in your very own city, and at the very own site of the medical school, you don't make a connection between disparity and lack of access to health care and where you're at. Because sometimes, this happens sometimes. So people that tell me all about this stuff say, well, that I invariably ask, what do you think could be done about that? And then if they say, well, they can, or, they can, well, somebody needs to help. Right? Somebody. And so that's disappointing to me also. Who's that somebody gonna be? Somebody help those folks. So that's where, when you talk about improving, because especially when a big part of this conference is about diversity, right? So diverse background, diversity of thought, and what we found with diversity, there's a researcher at the University of Michigan, actually an economist and mathematician by the name of Scott Page, and his research has shown, he's done mathematical modeling, and a whole book that thick talking about the benefits of diversity, gender, LGBT, etc. So when one is trying to solve a complex, difficult problem, having people from diverse backgrounds leads to what's called a super additive effect. So 1 + 1 = 3. And so if we keep doing things the way we have in the past, I think we're going to continue to have these glowing and glaring gaps in healthcare access and so on. So we need people from diverse backgrounds, people in this room, to engage the healthcare system, to be involved in team activities, interdisciplinary team approach to solving some of these difficult problems. Disparities in heart care for women, access to care in general for, you just go to any, so ma'am, where are you from?
I was born in Mexico.
So Mexico. So, and where are you living at right now?
Fairfield.
So Fairfield. So being a answer to some of the health disparities and access problems in Fairfield, or if you should decide to, practice somewhere else, but being a part of the solution. I don't want to see you on reality TV driving up down the street with some Jaguar, and playing big shot. I don't want you at Ohio State. Go some other. I don't think very many medical schools want that type of behavior. So, not the same. We don't want you to be successful, but we want people who are going to work in teams, work with others to solve big problems. So we want problem solvers, and that diversity is very important in that. So, and especially in providing access. And I'll give you another example where that diversity comes into play. So you have another subset of doctors. I'm not certain how large it is, but may not have experienced any issues in regards to access to care and so forth through their upbringing, and may have the attitude, well, I'm a cardiovascular surgeon, or I'm a specialty this, or I'm a specialty that, and the government's just not paying high enough, and I'm not going to accept Medicare patients. I'm not going to accept Medicaid patients. The government's killing me, right? And so you have to be open. So those are, especially Medicaid, a safety net program to provide health care for large populations of these United States of America. And so to just go into something and having that type of attitude, again, we're not looking for those types of students. We want other types of students. And even from providing care in underserved areas. And this is where, again, on these secondary applications of AMCAS, you have an opportunity to say to the world, when you write something down, it's more likely it's going to happen. When you make a plan in writing, it's more likely you're making a commitment. So you be thoughtful, write down, what are you going to do? I just told you that 5,000 applications, 60 screeners going through those 5,000 applications to figure out which 800 are we going to invite for interview. Now, which application do you think is going to stand out? So think about that. And not just to do it to have your application to stand out. Do it because it's in your heart, and transform that caring and what drew you to medicine into something that's going to solve a complex, difficult problem. And I can't think of a more difficult and complex problem than these health disparities in the United States. Another issue, while we're on this topic, let's look at the United States. And one of the measures to compare our healthcare system to the world is infant mortality rate. So now we're the richest nation in the world, yet we have third world country infant mortality rates. And I speak to this especially because right now in Central Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, and the state of Ohio, there's a big interdisciplinary, multiple specialties, multiple professions, community partnership, governmental partnership addressing the whole issue of infant mortality. There's an infant mortality task force. The infant mortality rate in Ohio is ranked like 48 out of all the other states in the country. Also, when you dig deep into that infant mortality rate, and this is in most states, if you compare the average infant mortality rate to like the African American infant mortality rate, it's at least double. Because Ohio is like 6 per 1,000 live births for the general, but for African American, I think it's almost 13. So within the first year of life, out of 1,000 live births, 13 babies are dying unexpectedly, a lot of times unknown reasons. So we have to find, so there are, and then I know you have a library here and you have these various libraries. So there's shelves and shelves and shelves of books. And all those diseases in those books, we need to find ways to optimize one's health and viability. So there's a term called health equity, whereby everyone, despite their social circumstances, has the ability to obtain optimal health. So I know at our institution, we want students to advance us towards that. And to be one of those students at our institution, The Ohio State University, and the other 141 medical schools in the United States, you need to be able to speak to that. In the secondary application and the AMCAS, they give you that opportunity to do that. And then when you're on the interview, share your passion about what are you going to do? How are you going to be that solution? Not just, well, you know, and this happens sometimes too. You get folks that, I scored 40 on my MCAT and I have a 4.0 and hey, I'm it. I know I'm what you're looking for. And that's not necessarily, it could be. What are your attributes and what have your experiences been and how are you going to leverage that brain power into solving these multitudes, myriad of problems we have. Does that make sense? Am I being real with you this morning? Are you learning anything? Okay, all right. So that's where the secondaries and the AMCAS, it gives you the opportunity to share your story. You want to tell your story. Okay, hey, we're at this. So in summary, secondaries are very important. They typically have questions on them that are aligned with the mission of the institution. Yes, you have the AMCAS where they ask for your personal statement and so forth, but the secondary application, that medical school is going to have several questions that they highly value and want to have good answers for to decide out of these 5,000 applicants who matches with our mission, who has the potential to do great things in this world. And yes, we're looking for intelligent folks, but we're also looking for people who are going to make a difference. And so, any questions at all? No questions? I said enough. So we're on television, hey. So thank you for your time, and I have some business cards if you'd like, or if you have any questions at all, please feel free to send me an email. My email address is Leon, L-E-O-N, .McDougle, M-C-D-O-U-G-L-E, osumc.edu. And this, to close, here's a photograph of our, or depiction of our new cancer center that's going to be opening up in December. So, all right, it's been my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. A.V., man.